Hello, fiends, friends, and familiars. This is Matt Orozco here from Macabre Daily, and I'm joined by two of what are becoming some of my favorite people. I have Justin Brooks and Emily Bennett, who are the filmmakers behind the upcoming film Bloodshine, which is going to be out on Friday, the 21st of August from Dark Sky Films in theaters, where you should absolutely go and see it because this thing is such a beauty to look at that it deserves to be seen on the biggest screen possible. But Justin and Emily, thank you so much for spending some time with me.
Hey,
It's
Matt.
always good to
Good to
see
see
you,
you.
Matt.
Oh, it's a pleasure all on this side. I know you both have been quite busy after our meeting up in Chattanooga, and now we've kind of it almost feels like a speed run to this release date. So first of all, how are you both doing with just kind of the pace of everything now that the release date's been announced and we have the premiere coming up? I think you all are in LA for a great Q&A with Joe and Becca tonight.
Yeah.
How,
Yeah. I mean, it feels, gosh, I'm just glad to finally share this thing. Honestly, I feel like we've been nurturing this bloody love child of ours for a long time. So I'm glad for people to see the nasty beauty that we made.
Yeah, it's funny. When people see a film, I don't think they realize how long the filmmakers have lived with the film. This really is many years labor love. So it's just so exciting to finally get to share it with everyone.
Yeah, I think that's one part that many people, unless you're working within the industry some way or adjacent to it, don't realize is that the process of even when we get to see a film, whether it's at a festival or not, there's still a much longer timeline that has occurred before
Yeah.
that. And there's even a
Mm,
longer timeline sometimes to get from, all right, now it's out and made and in the world, but how do we find someone that's going to help us distribute it? And one of the things that I really wanted to ask you both about is around kind of your personal progressions as filmmakers. Since kind of working together on your first feature alone with you, and kind of now, you both have kind of your own careers and your own rights, but also continually work together and collaborate. So, how would you kind of put? What are some of the things you feel you felt, or at least your growth? How you feel you felt your growth over the past few years since Alone with You has come out, and now since more opportunities have come your all's way, but also with Bloodshine, which is such a wildly different film in a great way.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think with Bloodshine, it was so important for us to show a larger scope. Not only did we want to write a larger story, but we wanted to show that we are capable of a larger space than a tiny apartment. So really it was us wanting to create a much larger sandbox for us to play in with Bloodshine. We both are very different filmmakers, separate than we are together, and that's I think what makes it fun working together is we come with very different sensibilities that create a story that we would neither one of us would probably do on our own. So with this, we wanted to show a difference in scope, a difference in size, what we are capable of as storytellers. But really, beyond showing anybody else anything, the film is very self-indulgent, to be perfectly honest. This is a movie where we're like, God, what's the character you want to most play? What are the shots I want to most construct? What are the things, what's the film that we want to make now that we're still independent filmmakers. There's nobody over us, telling us what we can or cannot do. So now's the time to show all the strange things that we're interested in, we love.
Yeah, and I would say the artistic progression since Alone with You, that was made so simply with such a minimal crew, basically the two of us.
Yeah.
We certainly wanted to grow out from that and create a larger world. But I come from the acting side, so it was important for me to play someone vastly different and yet reminiscent of my upbringing in the Bible Belt. Faith was such a part of my life growing up, and so I did want to pay tribute to that devotion, that kind of focus a character would have. I'm fascinated with that, and I wanted to take that kind of obsessive North Star and put it in a character that I played because God, should we all be so lucky to believe in ourselves as much as Clara
Right.
believed in herself, right? I think we would be capable of a lot, maybe terrible things, probably. Um, but like what an envious quality to have to create a character within and without that knows exactly what she wants, and yet to be so troubled amidst that. So I think the artistic progression was so fun for both of us. For me, it was wonderful, of course, to play Clara. I love her. She's given me so much. And she's one of the my favorite characters that I've ever played. But it was so joyous for me as a director to work with such a wonderful, broader cast and to really just be on set as a director, working with Larry Fessenden, with David Call, with Brendan Sexton, with Toby Poser, with all of these brilliant, mostly filmmakers in and of themselves, too.
Right.
I love actors. I've grown up with actors. I can speak actor. Any methodology that you've got, I've been there. I've trained in it. I know it. I love my cast of characters, and it's just so fun for me. And my next projects, I just look forward to celebrating actors, to creating the world around them, but really, yeah, I love people and I love faces on film.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you do have folks in this film that are both actors and filmmakers, kind of there's a multi-talent kind of array of people that are working on this film, yourselves included. And I
Mm.
want to, I love what you said, Justin, about indulgence, and I want to come back to that in just a moment. But something you said, Emily, kind of leads perfectly into this question I had while I was getting ready for this, because so much of, I've seen Bloodshot a couple of times. I can't wait to see it again. I'm going to be buying it on physical media as soon as it comes out because it's just one, it's a beautiful looking film. Like it's just such a delight to watch. But it's so much, I every time I see it, I find something different about it that I want to understand a little bit better. And what I was thinking about this time was around purpose. So much of what Clara's character and even David, Brighton, David's character, they're
Mm.
both struggling. Well, one has a very firm sense of purpose that feels somewhat guided by a malevolent desire or design, and then the other has this almost kind of like lack of purpose that
Mm.
is driven by almost having accomplished too much that felt like it was not his.
Mm.
And so I'm wondering, at what point did you both realize, kind of in your own lives, that what your purpose was going to be in terms of be as filmmakers and in creatives? Because it's a really big jump to kind of know that working in an industry like entertainment can be really difficult to not just be seen, but also to be successful. So at what point did you all realize, like, this is our purpose, this is what we want to do, and what did that look like? Or are you still looking?
No, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And shout out David Call, who plays Brighton so beautifully. I think, God, like I said, I grew up in the Bible Belt. I always made movies with people on my street with my dad's camcorder. I was always directing people, always crafting stories, horror stories. I made the Blair Witch Project like myself in the woods with like my buddies. Um, but growing up in a kind of puritanical society where girls are supposed to be thin and pretty and good and obedient, I always thought if I wanted to be in film, I had to act. And so I was just like, okay, well, I just want to be on set, so I have to get really good at acting. So I'm allowed on set. And so I devoted my life to training as an actor. And only later, after I trained in London, moved to New York City, got just beat in the face with the reality of living in New York City in your 20s, waiting tables, just being like, this is not what I thought it would be. Only then, I was still auditioning, of course, but the sides I was getting and the scripts I was getting were just not it's not what I thought it would be. They were kind of boring and some of the scripts weren't awesome. And I was just like, is this what I've worked for? And so I came to a point in my life where I decided, screw it. I need to write this. And what would I tell? Because maybe I can do this. And I just took the reins and I put my own money behind it and started directing short films. And people I had been on set with before showed up. And they showed up in such a supportive, wonderful way that I realized, the redheaded stepchild that I actually am. I always felt like a bit of an outsider. I finally found my people on a film set, and I that was my progression, and it's constantly trying to find the story that needs to be told, that I will lose years of my life on, that I will lose sleep but to find my tribe and my people, I mean, it's the biggest joy in the world, and I just hope it keeps going.
Yeah, I came up I came up loving horror. My father loved horror. He shared that love with me as I grew up.
Yeah.
So I grew up with Freddy, Jason, Hellraiser, all the, all the traditional stuff you do as a kid of the 80s and 90s. And so it was always something deeply important to me. It was, I mean, I think horror is a very large part of my identity. I wear it quite literally on my
Yep.
sleeve. I love horror. But and Emily and I both created things separately from one another before we created things together. We were filmmakers before we were together. But I think um in finding one another, we found an opportunity that neither of us had beforehand. And really that comes down to the old adage of indie film for years, work with what you have. And what we had in one another was very different sides of the same coin that we suddenly realized, like, oh, we can do this quite literally, just the two of us. So then to be able to grow out from that felt very natural and very organic. So it was really our work together that made features possible suddenly. And we've continued to grow as filmmakers. Beyond that, both Emily and I will be directing separately, plenty of stories to tell. We will eventually do more work together, but really, I think the spearhead of it all was, you as independent filmmakers, you work with what you have access to, and luckily we had access to a brilliant actor, and I am a fairly good cinematographer.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
A really
Listen,
brilliant.
give yourself some flowers there, Justin.
So we were able to create that road for ourselves.
Yeah, well, that's just so wonderful. Just to, appreciate your answer, Sue, because I know that's kind of it's a very almost deep question, kind of thrown into the middle of a press junket, right? But the reality is that I think you both hit on something really, really important, which is it's about the people and finding the people that can help bring you to a
For
space where
sure.
you can find that purpose. Because I think it's really hard. Filmmaking is not an individual endeavor. Yes, one could make a film by oneself,
Yeah,
full stop, but at the same time, to truly get the sense of collaboration and joy that comes from making a movie, you have to work with other people and trust other people. And that's such a scary thing in a world where we don't always know everyone's intentions. So I think when you do find that community of folks that can not only stand behind you, but stand with you and stand and you with them, that helps to encourage that ability to take the leap, to be
yeah,
more confident. And it's
absolutely.
just
Definitely.
lovely.
It is pulling together your tribe through time, and every endeavor you collect a couple more folks. I know both Emily and I, throughout our years of working with different crews on different films, we have plucked a person here, a person there. And then ultimately, like Bloodshine, I was saying to our first AD and producer today, Bloodshine was this miracle of
Mm.
an indie film where every one of our departments were just the absolute top of their game. Like we were so it really was an embarrassment of riches with our crew. They are so capable, so brilliant, and we just stumbled into this amazing support group of brilliant artists. We couldn't have been luckier.
They are our cult, and we love
Right.
them. And
Yeah.
we all worked to worship the light together.
Well, I think in independent film in particular, people tend to work with people that they believe in the vision, right? Because there isn't a financial gain you most of the time. I mean, yes, you are paying
You
people,
say
right?
that
There's always, but
again.
it's not like you're getting the job here that's going to pay your bills for the rest of the year. It's really like independent film is much more of a labor of love.
This is love,
And
yeah.
and so many filmmakers, I mean, will so many people in the film industry will take that chance because they believe in something, even if they don't have to. And when you talked about indulgences before, Justin, I feel like there is this, there's this almost kind of perception and maybe even assumption that filmmakers kind of can choose a lot of things and control a lot of things that maybe they can't, right? But independent filmmaking does give you that, with the trade-off that you often have less resources. So
Yeah.
how do you find that balance? Especially the question for the both of you, like finding that balance between independence and artistic freedom versus
Mm.
the temptation to kind of try and aim for something that's going to give you maybe bigger budgets, but at the same time less control over the final product.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because I mean, a road's a hell of a lot easier to drive down if it's already paved.
Right.
If you have to pave your own damn road, then it's going to take a hell of a lot longer time and be a little rockier and tougher. But I just I love independent film because it feels like such a collection of creatives. There's no instance where it's like, well, that's not my job. I do my job and you do your job. It really is like we all come together and we're all doing this because, like you said, because we love it, because this is not a space you live in to get rich quick. That's for sure. You will make tens of dollars, in independent film, but you will create things that you are truly, truly proud of and create
Yes.
relationships that will carry you throughout your career. I mean,
Mm.
Mike Flanagan is a friend of us both and a brilliant filmmaker. And I know Mike carries his crew and his cast with him to every
Yeah.
film because you find those people that you trust and that you share in creativity with, and you want to be they are your friends. It's funny. I when I was a younger filmmaker, and I didn't understand, I heard the term networking, and I thought that meant going to events and shaking hands and like,
Business cards.
yeah. And what nobody
Mhm.
told me is it's like, no, that's making friends. Go make friends with people that have similar likes and interests as you. Like, that's what a network is. A network is just a bunch of friends that like making the same stuff you do. And it's finding those people that makes the next thing easier and the next thing easier. And you all want to do it as your own personal little army. You go into battle together every time.
Yeah. And I mean, just springboarding off of that, I couldn't agree with that more. And going back to your question about choice and what are we allowed to choose, it's it's always a balance. I have a wonderful manager at Anonymous Content, which is great, and he's working with me on kind of my next projects and feature films. And choice, there is a conversation of independent and what you artistically need as a creator, and meeting a commercial standard that that will basically just get butts and seats. And
Yep.
you know I I love both films. I love the super art house stuff that like no one's seen, and I can be super indulgent and be like, have you seen that French film that was on the Criterion channel? But I also love more commercial films as well. Like, I didn't grow up in a major city, so the blockbusters are what I came up on. So choice is always, especially now for me in my own practice as a filmmaker, choice, that's going into a lot of my discussions and a lot of my internal monologue right now of like, what do I choose? Because no matter what you're choosing, film is forever. If you
Right.
put it on film and you share it with people, that's forever. And so you have to want to love it more than anything. You have to want to sacrifice your life, your financial freedom, your weekends, your evenings, your, mental health sometimes, and like work back from that and obviously take care of
Of
yourself.
course.
But at the end of the day, uh, making a film is such a commitment. It's a marriage, and it's a marriage of yourself with so many people to create something. And so that what you choose to make is the most important thing. So,
And to just to put a button on it, yeah, I think I hear the term commercial film all the time. I mean, commercial is made in the underground.
Right.
The people doing the independent stuff, the stuff in the underground, they create the taste that the big guys suddenly decide is commercial. And
Mm,
all commercial
yeah.
means is you made something everybody likes,
Yep.
you know? And that the heart of that thing was yours to begin with. It was, and this little thing, and we all hope
Yeah.
that our little thing becomes the thing everybody likes. Not all of them will, very few will.
Right.
But we
Mm.
we can't make movies with that as the goal. We have to make films.
No, that is death.
Yeah, you have to make
Yes.
films knowing, we say all the time, we make the movies we want to watch,
Yeah.
and we hope that there's an audience that shares in our weird depravity, and wants to enjoy that as well. And I think that's where film starts, and then the audience takes it wherever they take it.
Mm.
I mean, that's something, someone else had said something similar to me before. It was Steven Kostanski, who's done like The Void,
Oh
Death
yeah,
Stalker on the end. Like he said, when I asked him, like, you're all made all these different kinds of movies. You've got like a little stinkers movie, you've got like a straight cosmic horror movie,
yeah,
but there's no real kind of connectivity between them. He's like, oh no, he's like, the connectivity is like, I just wanted to make the movie. I wanted to make my own video store movies. He's like, these are the movies that I went to the video store and I rented. I wanted
Yeah.
to make my versions of those. And I think
yeah,
that you're so right in that, like, commercial often gets treated as a bad word, but really it just means this is the most widely acceptable piece of entertainment. It just means it can gather the widest audience. But at
yeah,
the same time, the independent is becoming more in the mainstream. It's becoming more accessible than it was before. And I say this complimentary because I think that so much of the challenge with independent filmmaking has been trying to stand out and trying to be seen. Whereas now, especially in horror and genre, being independent almost is a benefit to at least with the reception. Now there is a kind of business side of this, which is like independent does not necessarily mean people are going to give you money.
Mm.
certainly.
Usually
Yeah,
the opposite. So it's just an interest. It's interesting to hear your all's take on that, largely because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding in the broader community about what making a movie is and kind of what it looks like. And I think when I think about legacy, I think about filmmakers, knowing that what you've made is part of your legacy. Doesn't have to be what defines you, but it's something that people will remark about you long after we've all expired. And I think that that's something really, really important, especially when the quality of the film is that of Bloodshine, right? Which is just it's so unique and singular in an environment of religious horror movies that all tend to kind of do the same thing, which is possession, and again, no besmirching anything. Just it's all very much based on the same kind of deeply Catholic, but also deeply, demonically focused. Whereas this is almost about like there's almost very little that's kind of demonic in this. As more as it's more about the convictions and how convictions can
yeah,
make us be, truly terrible people. Because the journey that Brighton has is like he's the most irredeemable character at the start, and yet somehow you both made a way of making Clara, who is the most seemingly redeemable character, make us question Clara, and at the same time make us question what we understand about Brighton, because the first 10 minutes of Brighton on screen are just like this fucking guy, like
see, but and
Yeah.
and that's what I love
Thank
about
you.
this, and what I loved writing. Emily and I loved writing about this film is
Yeah.
is first of all, you just said a woman that kills multiple men was the redeemable
right?
character over a guy that's a prick,
Yeah,
like
he's just a dick, but he didn't hurt
it,
anyone.
it's so funny
Yeah.
to see how you can play with these characters and change these characters and find ways to bring these characters together. It
Mm.
like that really is that's the fun of this film is really Emily and I are big supporters of creating characters that do not live in the good or the bad. They are
Yeah, the
people.
margins.
Yeah.
We are all capable of great good and great evil, and we are all that in between. And we wanted to bring that to the page in these two characters. I think characters are far more interesting on film when they're not just so solid, like that is a villain.
Right.
If you give the audience a character that they can lean into and kind of connect with, I mean, obviously one of the bigger inspirations for this film was Audition. And, you know, you don't see women running out in Halloween dressing up
Right.
like the dudes that were tortured. And like they connect with her because like if you create a character
She's not a
that
villain.
exactly, if you
Yeah,
create
she's
a
just
character
taking a vengeance.
that has that breadth and has that wider world, then you create good characters. Like all the greatest villains we've seen in cinema are not villains to in their right. They believe they are doing something that is truly important, and they have what we wanted to write into this film. They have purpose, they have conviction, and that's where we wanted to kind of walk down.
Well, and you know, in kind of researching and playing Clara, she worships a real religion that we found, and I did so much research on, especially playing Clara. It's called Manichaeism, and it is an actual religion, the worship of light and dark. And so it's a very black and white religion. Mani, the namesake of the religion, was a contemporary of Jesus Christ, but took those teachings and really distilled them. And so we created this religion of there is either light, good, or darkness, bad. But within that kind of polarizing religion, we wanted to create shades of gray. And so to have that kind of structure in a film like this was really important to crafting not only those characters, but their relationship with each other.
I loved how you put that because you were like Clara representing the light and kind of Brighton representing the darkness. When you mix those two things together, you get the gray. And
Yeah,
so
you
it's
do.
like at the end of the, and again, the end of this film is such a blast. Like it's so, it just totally delivers on everything that it's leading up to. And I think that that's something that not every film can say it does, but you all do it so splendidly by kind of really giving us what we want, and the satisfaction, and not even necessarily the joyous satisfaction, but just some satisfaction of closure, even if it is, you know, mildly very bittersweet and highly dark, you know. But I just love that kind of idea of like you're right, like the most interesting things are not the binaries; they are the things that are within, that are in between. And what makes great characters, and ones that feel lived in, is the fact that they are not these almost pristine examples of humanity, but instead they are flawed but very tenable and very
Yeah.
malleable people. And both of these characters are, you know, Claire's convictions, all they really need is the right kind of counteraction to them to unwind that belief system. And Brighton is the same way. His inspiration is derived entirely from being limited as a creative.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
the wonderful part of that is that, you know, even though we may start these two characters off in this is the good, this is the bad, they they find the truth together. Like
Yep.
that is what they give
Mm.
one another in this film is they find truth in one another, and that is the connection. I think, plenty of people call this a dark love story. um we'll see if you truly believe people fell in love. I don't know what that truly means outside of, I think this is a story of two people finding themselves in finding one another,
And within each
and
other.
within
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
Not to give too much away, but yeah.
Metaphorically. Metaphorically.
Yeah. You,
But
if you
it
see it,
really
you know what
is.
we're talking about.
That's
Yeah.
right. I hope that is a moment people walk away talking about for sure. But I think for me, the beauty of both of these characters is they created something together, and that's the story, right? The story is what they find in one another.
Well, and the way they teach each other, they both learn from each
Yeah.
other in very horrific ways sometimes, but I think I think they are very broken people in different ways, but they help heal each other in a very unlikely way. I'm not
Yeah.
Now, would this make a healthy long-term relationship?
Right.
Probably not. But I mean, this is this is a relationship. It's so special and bombastic and wild that, yeah, we love these characters and
For
put
sure.
every
Yeah.
piece of both of us into both of them.
And it's almost like, when it's like when Stella got her groove back for horror, it's like it's not about love or lust. It's about like these two people found the
I
counteraction of themselves in the other.
love that.
Clara
And
got her
like,
groove
yeah,
back.
when how Clara got her groove back, like and so and same with Brighton, like I think just the way the story ends, like I think people that really resonate with this movie will understand the complexity of what you're trying to accomplish here, which is that there is no happy ending. Instead, there is just like this is the natural conclusion of where these two
Yeah.
people were going based on the
Yeah.
interactions they've had. And my last question for you both is just a fun one, but if you were asked to do a double feature with Bloodshine, um, what do
Oh
you think you would be a fun or interesting pairing to go alongside of it?
my gosh, that's a good question.
I
Yeah.
know, and you're the encyclopedia of films is probably rolling through your brain. So, given that I've asked this
Yeah.
question on a lot of folks, and people have given me this look like, "Oh, Matt, why would you ask me something that requires this like a little bit of research?" I will give you some of the ones I had in mind, just to
Oh,
follow
cool.
my own question. So,
Oh, cool.
one was A Dark Song. I think there's a lot of harmony between those two films in terms of the way that they deal with emotion and reality in a very but under a very real religious context. And then
Yeah.
House of the Devil is just House of the Devil feels kind of the way that those both end also has a very similar kind of connotation, but also the Fessenden connection and just the ways in which one is almost like the darker version of Blood. Like House of the Devil feels like Bloodshine, but dark, like just it's set at night, like and so much of what makes Bloodshine great. I think I told you all this at Chattanooga was you've never made the daytime so scary and so grotesque. And Justin, that's a testament to your outstanding cinematography. So those are two films that came to mind. If that helps at all, jog the ideas.
That's great. Do you know your answer?
I don't exactly know why. I think it's a little leaning into the strange sexuality of it all, but I think possession. Um,
Ooh,
Yeah.
I really love again,
Mm,
I think a very complex female character, lead in that. I think the strange kind of psychosexual kind of hole that film goes down.
mm,
That one, also, I just love that movie, and I
yeah,
think
it's a great
it's
movie.
such a great film. And I think, and I go back to the lead performance. I think, I'll certainly dote on my wife again. I think the performance in Bloodshine is some of the best work I think I've ever seen Emily do. I think it was so wild to see some of those moments, as I'm sure on Possession it had to have been amazing to experience some of those scenes.
There's a quiet intensity in Claire that you deliver, Emily, that is almost the opposite of Isabel Adjani's kind of like manic
Sure.
possessed, because
oh,
there's a lot of pain and rage
mm,
in the eyes of your character, but it's so kind of soft spoken. She's so soft spoken, and even when
Yeah.
she's being brutal, she's so. And again, I think that's where the audition comes in. It's like there's such like this person is doing this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm right there with you, Justin. Like I think there's a strong power in the delivery in the performance of Clara, and Emily. You really knock it out of the park there.
thank you
Yeah.
so much. I mean, I guess for yeah, for I'm now it's my turn to blush. Thank you guys so much. The let's see. I mean, a couple of films come to mind, honestly. Um, but I don't know. We've mentioned it already. I do think Audition makes a really good double feature with this. Um, it's and part of me wants to say like another kind of folk horror film, but it's this film is much less about folk horror and more about this relationship and the misconception and the strange perceptions we have of people from the outside and then who they actually are on the inside. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But but I think in Audition, like it starts one thing and you think you understand this woman, and then you realize you have no idea. You have no idea who this is, what iceberg is below the surface in this person.
Yeah.
And is she a villain? No. Is she justified in doing what she's doing? Emotionally, we understand
Yeah,
that
we
it's
get
not,
it.
yeah, but it's not to forgive her for that. And it's also looking, Audition also, Takashi Miike is just such a master of tone and switching it up on people. Bloodshine starts in one way, and a lot of people are just like, did not see that coming. And I think that's the power of Audition as well, is you're with this guy who's very well intentioned. He's maybe a bit ridiculous and a bit backwards and a bit misogynistic, but he is looking for love. He is looking for something, just as Brighton is looking for inspiration, for purpose. And just putting these two characters together is just so catastrophic and blood drenched that I think that would make a really cool double feature.
For sure. Yeah.
I would agree. I would agree. And even as we were talking about this, another one came on was Santa Sangre,
Oh,
because there's and not just on the kind of like the titular level, like because they both reference like blood in some way, but also that there's this kind of deep, weird love story at the center of Santa Sangre about the main
yeah.
and again, granted, it's a male versus a female, but like there's such a strange journey that person goes on that is very much about not so much the absurdity of what happens, but more so the enlightenment that happens to an individual that goes through something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like this movie. I mean, I'd watch this movie with almost anything. But I know I've come up on my time with you both, and I just want to say first and foremost, thank you for spending some time with me, and just a reminder to everybody that's watching. By the time you watch this, Bloodshine will be out the next day. So please go and get a ticket. Please go and see it with your friends, because it's the kind of movie you're going to want to talk about with other people when you're done. It's the best kind of movie because it requires you, almost wants you to be like, I need to talk. I need somebody to go outside, like have a cigarette or have a coffee with me and talk about this thing. So Justin and Emily, congrats on the film, and also good luck on the premiere tonight in LA. And I cannot wait for whatever you both are doing creatively, individually, or together again. You both are brilliant.
Thank you so much, Matt.
A pleasure as always, man.
And Matt, thank you for what you're doing at Macabre Daily. You guys are just trailblazers in just getting the word out about independent horror cinema. And so we love you guys, and it's just always great to see you.
Well, Brian says hello. He would kill me if I didn't say hello, but Brian says hello. And again,
Hi,
thank you
Brian.
both. Have fun tonight and talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Talk
you so
to
much.
soon.